Attacks on journalists in Lebanon are not merely violations of international law, they are a strategy of silencing. When Vest's marked press are no longer respected, we are witnessing blatant war crimes. However, what is even more concerning is the wall of censorship erected in its wake. Why is access being restricted? Why are journalists being targeted? Israel is not merely attacking people. They are attacking eyewitnesses. As the narrative begins to be completely controlled, we must ask, what truth are they trying to erase from history? Total information control. What is being hidden is not merely facts, but defeat. However, Israel has tightened restrictions on reporting regarding Iranian missile attacks. Journalists, both local and foreign, are prohibited from recording damage, missile impact sites, and details of the on-the-ground effects. At the same time, the United States is restricting the distribution of high-resolution satellite imagery in the Middle East. As a result, fact-checking has become increasingly difficult, and the true picture of the conflict is growing increasingly blurred. An unstoppable reality. Behind increasingly strict information restrictions, the situation on the ground is becoming harder to conceal. Warning sirens wail incessantly, particularly in the northern regions near the Lebanese border, and occasionally reach as far as Tel Aviv. Drone and missile attacks by Hezbollah and Iran have left residents living in constant tension, with no certainty as to when the next attack will come or how severe its impact will be. The impact is now palpable. A massive wave of emigration has begun. For the first time, Israel is experiencing a situation where the number of long-term immigrants exceeds the number of returning residents. Even more concerning is that many of them are professionals, doctors, engineers, and tech workers who form the backbone of the economy and the healthcare system. This loss is not merely a matter of quantity, but of the quality of human resources. A sense of security is slowly crumbling. Many citizens began to doubt the state's ability to provide protection. The mayor of Margalate, a small town in northern Israel, could not hold back tears as he described his devastated region. Meanwhile, the situation in the north was worsening. The mayor of Kiryat Shmona described his city as ghost town-like because its residents had fled amid relentless pressure from Hezbollah. This frustration is spreading across all segments of society. Anti-war protests are beginning to emerge in several cities, while resistance to mandatory military service is also rising, including within the Orthodox Jewish community. Now, Israel faces not only external threats, but also an internal crisis that is slowly eroding its strength from within. Vital targets hit. It's not just psychological pressure. Israel's strategic assets are now truly beginning to take a hit. Everything is being kept under wraps, but some details have leaked to the public. In the Negev desert, an Iranian ballistic missile reportedly struck the Ashalim power plant, one of the country's largest solar energy projects with a capacity of up to 320 megawatts. This facility supplies electricity to approximately 120,000 households. When targets like this are attacked, the impact is not merely local, but directly affects national energy stability. Not far from there, in the Be'er Sheva region, a chemical industrial facility in the Ramat Hovav area was also struck. Iranian attacks targeted this area 3 times in a single week. This area is known as one of the largest chemical industrial hubs in Israel. A leaked video shows a massive fire that is difficult to control. Even more concerning are reports of a leak of hazardous substances, which forced the evacuation of nearby residents. A fire department official even confirmed that secondary explosions occurred after the initial impact, indicating that what was burning was not just an ordinary building, but high-risk materials. The following day, another attack occurred, this time striking an oil refinery in Haifa, northern Israel. This was the second attack in quick succession. While the previous damage was limited to missile shrapnel, the impact this time was far greater. The fire raged, and thick plumes of black smoke were visible from a distance, signaling a serious disruption to this vital energy facility. In Bunai Brak, the situation was no less alarming. Cluster munitions struck a residential area, damaging vehicles and causing water pipes to burst. Streets were flooded, and the risk of disruptions to clean water distribution began to emerge. In a conflict situation, damage to the water system like this can trigger additional crises, including the potential for contamination. As April entered its second week, the intensity of the attacks increased sharply. At least 15 locations were reported to have been hit, including densely populated areas such as Tel Aviv and Petah Tikva. Warning sirens sounded repeatedly, creating panic and mounting psychological stress among the public. The most significant blow occurred in the defense industry sector. A drone factory in Petah Tikva was reportedly completely destroyed by a missile strike. This facility produced drones and critical components for military needs, making its destruction a major strategic loss. Damage also occurred in Ramat Gan, where a building suffered significant destruction due to an explosion. The structure collapsed, and the interior was charred. All of this points to an increasingly clear pattern. The attacks are no longer random, but systematic, targeting vital points that underpin Israel's strength. And for the umpteenth time, Israel lies in ruins. Internal pressure mounting. In addition to the destruction of vital infrastructure, Israel is now facing mounting internal pressure as the death toll rises in the escalating conflict. The ground operation into Lebanese territory has reportedly killed more than 1,450 people, including 126 children, and forced approximately 1.2 million residents to flee since early March. These figures are not merely statistics, but a social, humanitarian, and political burden that continues to weigh on the government from within. Israel is facing criticism. On the military front, the situation is also growing increasingly alarming. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Yael Zamir warned that the Israeli military risks significant weakening if the personnel shortage crisis is not addressed immediately. The prolonged conflict has made troop fatigue increasingly evident. The Israeli army has been engaged in endless wars in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. Limited rotations, psychological pressure, and rising casualties have caused combat readiness to slowly decline. Another problem arises on the armaments front. The rate of missile usage for both offensive and defensive purposes far exceeds production capacity. In just a few weeks, thousands of ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as interceptor systems like Iron Dome, Patriot, and Arrow, have been deployed to intercept waves of missiles launched by Iran and its proxies. The cost has reached tens of billions of dollars and continues to rise daily. Most critical is the dwindling stockpile of interceptors. The air defense systems that have long been the mainstay are beginning to reach their limits. Production cannot keep up with the rate of use on the battlefield. If this situation continues, the likelihood of enemy missiles penetrating defenses will increase, raising the risk of more widespread damage. This pressure is exacerbated by an economy that is beginning to falter. Industrial activity is disrupted, investment is declining, and the costs of military mobilization continue to balloon. In the long term, this war is not just about military strength, but also economic resilience. At this juncture, Israel faces not only external threats, but also internal pressures that could determine the future course of the conflict. Iran has not fallen. On the other hand, throughout the more than 30 days of conflict, Iran has demonstrated resilience that cannot be underestimated. Amid pressure from two major powers, Israel and the United States, Iran has remained capable of maintaining its military stability. Its strategy is clear: not to win quickly, but to endure longer. Iran relies on asymmetric warfare. Missiles are launched in waves, low-cost drones are continuously produced, and proxy networks across various regions remain active, pressuring the enemy from multiple directions. A decentralized command system is also key, ensuring military operations continue even under intense attack. Instead of weakening, Iran has actually increased the intensity of its attacks. The rate of missile launches is reported to have increased compared to the previous week, indicating that its combat capacity remains intact. This is an important signal that significant pressure has not been enough to cripple them. On the other hand, Israel is beginning to face limitations, particularly in its stockpile of air defense interceptors. As attacks continue unabated, even the most advanced defense systems can be depleted. And this is where vulnerabilities begin to emerge. The impact does not stop on the battlefield. Globally, Brent crude oil prices have begun to surge, reflecting market concerns about regional stability. This tension also narrows the political and military room for maneuver for the opposing side. At this point, One thing becomes clear: Iran is not trying to win quickly, but to ensure its opponent runs out of steam first.